Hello and welcome to Zazumi. Do you have fear of editing?
Stop it.
Well, if you do, and you're afraid, and you're very, very afraid, I have a solution for you.
Oh boy. Sorry.
Do you have... Oh my gosh! Why is it doing that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's crazy. I see why. And you're afraid. And you're very, very afraid. I can't get it to stop. I have a solution for you. Oh my gosh. So this is what happens when your computer goes crazy from fear of editing. What you want to do is you want to leave the fear behind and learn the facts instead. Now I'm going to break it down for you. So, what is editing? Well, editing is simply creation. And what you're doing is you're creating a brand new video from a bunch of parts. And this is exactly what happened when Frankenstein was created. So how do you do that? Software. But not just any software. You have to choose wisely. It's very, very important to choose wisely. And if you weren't here to see the video about software, go to the video. There's the information about the video. Go to it.
Are you going to talk like
Not
this
right
the whole
now.
time? You're going to talk like this the whole time? You're scaring me.
What?
You're scaring me. You're going to talk like that the whole
Sorry.
time?
Hello and welcome everybody.
That's
Hi
better.
Kim, hi Dale.
That's much better.
Web Wildcatter. No, you're in the right
Jeez.
place. Thank you so much for being here. I know, we've got cool, scary stuff for you tonight. So what do you want to do? You want to create a killer video. How do you do that? Well, you template it, of course. That's the most important thing to do. What do you do as a template? Well, number one, you want to grab attention as quickly as possible. Hi, John. And hook people as quickly as possible. You want a very teeny, weeny, size of an itty-bitty spider intro. Just the shortest little intro you can possibly think of, just for branding. And then get on with the content. It's got to be amazing content, but it can't just be content. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, so that people know where they are in the video. What now? Well, of course, a call to action. And what is that? Well, a call to action is something like, hey, like this video. Hey, did you subscribe yet? Subscribe right now. Hey, if you really enjoyed this video, share it. I'd love for you to share it. Please share it. If not, something horrible could happen to you.
All right. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting this is too much fun. And then end screens and cards. What are end screens and cards? Well, end screens are where you continue the story from your video and then point people to your next video. And if you use cards, cards are those little circle with an eye in it for information where you can post another video, where you can post a link to another channel if you have a certain amount of subscribers, where you can post a poll, where you can do a playlist. There are lots of things that you can do with cards, and it's good to know how to use them. So let's recap. What is a template? A hook, a 3 to 5 second intro, amazing content with a beginning, a middle, and an end, a call to action, and then wrap it up with end screens. But don't wrap it up, just keep going and keep talking so that people want to watch your next video. So how do you edit successfully? Well, one of the ways to do that is to use a storyboard. What is a storyboard? Well, let's just pop over to me and I'll tell you what a storyboard is. A storyboard is when you create the entire video in little bitty pictures. And the way to do that is however you want to do that. You can be as detailed or as simplistic as you want. You can put as many notes or as few notes as you want. But the great thing about storyboarding is that it cuts your editing time in half. And the reason for that is because you've already laid out the entire video. You already know this is going to be a close-up. This is going to be, can you see this?
Oh,
this is going to be a half headshot. And then if you're way back, it's going to be a full landscape. And you'll already know that because you're storyboarding. And I'm just going to pop over to Sal because we're in the mood for tonight's interesting editing video.
Ooh.
So let's go back to it. So storyboarding, very, very critical if you want to cut down the time of editing. And editing with a storyboard is so fast. Because when you lay out your entire video with a beginning, a middle, and an end, you're going to know exactly when you're editing, where you're doing close-ups, where you're putting titles, where you're putting lower thirds, like the editing right below me on the bottom there. That's a lower third. So you will learn all of these steps when you're editing. But storyboarding gives you the process so super quickly and makes it so much faster. So do I recommend it? Highly. I highly recommend storyboarding. What's next? Pre-edit in your script. So now you've created a script and a storyboard for your video. And at least you've given it bullet points. Even if you don't want to script out the entire thing, bullet points will let you know exactly what you're doing from beginning, middle, and end. Now, when you run through everything, and if you do a storyboard, which I highly recommend a storyboard, and thank you for those likes, you know I love them. If you do a storyboard, then you will see right in the storyboard as you talk it out, where it's like, oh my God, that's so boring. Oh, it's so long. I think I'll just take a little nap. Oh, can't take a nap. Gotta cut it. Cut, cut, cut. That's what you want to do. You want to cut, cut, cut and make it tighter and faster and the pacing better and more flowing, because you don't want to put people to sleep now, do you? Although I do have a potion for that if you want it. You must be ruthless. Yes, ruthless, and cut, cut, cut. Because even though you filmed it, doesn't mean it's great, okay? So when you're doing your storyboarding, when you're going through it, you will see, oh, this is not good. Cut it. Be ruthless. Because truly, people watch shorter videos more than they watch longer videos. And yes, my videos are long, but I'm an educator, so I can make longer videos. But shorter videos are better. 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes is the sweet spot for YouTube videos. Now, with that said, you have heard me say multiple times that YouTube also loves 10-minute and longer videos so they can show multiple ads. This may be true, but it doesn't mean it's good for you, right? As a beginner Or even if your channel has 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers, do what's best for you. Because if people watch more and more of your content, then still they will see more and more of the video ads, won't they? So do what's best for you. What's next? Film, of course. Film the video. So now you've created your script, your storyboard. You've been ruthlessly cutting stuff out. Time to film. Don't forget, we have already done videos about what you should use for equipment. So if you're not sure, go back to the Zazumi channel and look at those videos on the perfect equipment to use as a beginner or as an intermediate. And then what? Make sure your sound is good. Make sure your sound is good. Why? Who's going to tell me why? Everyone should know why it's important for your sound to be good. I'm going to pop over to Sal and he's going to tell us why. All right, honey, tell us why it's important that your sound is good. Deer in the headlights, right?
Your sound is good. Your sound has to be perfect or really good because it's the first thing people will click away from.
And
they'll click away the fastest from bad sound.
From bad sound. So even if your lighting isn't perfect, even if your photography isn't perfect, even if your production isn't perfect, if your sound stinks, then people will click away. And yes, we've had some issues with sound. And yes, we have fixed them, right? So if anyone disagrees, please let me know right now that we need better sound. Okay, let's just pop right back to those slides. What else? You need to delete. Delete the crappy footage, right? So delete, delete, delete. When you film, you might be thinking, oh, this is precious film because I filmed it. No, it's not. What's really precious film is the good stuff. Delete the rest. Just delete it. Be ruthless. Because what will happen is when you're finished filming and then you go back to editing, if you have 10 videos to go through because you did 10 takes, you're not going to have fun. You're going to be annoyed. It's going to be difficult to find the really good stuff. So delete, 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 and let it go. Just let it go. Throw it in the trash and leave the really good stuff. So let's say you film 10 videos and you end up with 3. Okay, that's awesome. 3 is fine because now you can pull the best stuff from those really good 3 videos. So don't think you need to keep things if they're not great. You don't. Do we have the sound is perfect. Hey, thank you guys. That sound is unforgivable. That's right, Shamika. I'm going to pull Shamika over because look what she said. Bad sound is unforgivable. And guess what?
What?
What is unforgivable? Who was that? Clint Eastwood?
It was Unforgiven, but okay.
Okay, so Sal has to do a Clint Eastwood
Unforgivable.
for that.
Then maybe when they go around a table, they said unforgivable,
right.
Unforgiven,
Forget
unforgiven.
it. Just do
What?
Clint Eastwood saying
Yes.
bad sound is unforgivable.
Bad sound is unforgivable.
There you go.
Go ahead.
So
Wait.
Wait.
Bad sound is unforgivable.
That's right.
Go ahead. Make bad sound.
So Kim says, your sound is perfect. Thank you, Kim. Wildcatter can hear you. Thank you. And Tom says, Sal is unforgiving. Ooh. Ooh. So don't forget, delete. Delete, delete. Now, what do you do next? Organize, gather, and organize. This is a campaign, and you are the general. And this is what you must do if you want it to be fast. And of course you do, right? You don't want editing to be anything other than fun. We all want it to be fun and fast, right? Fun and fast. So how does that happen? Well, you want to take all your footage, and then you want to take all the audio, the music, the sound effects, all the media, the images, the graphics, the illustrations, anything, that you are going to be bringing into this video and organize it into folders. Yes, that takes a little bit of time, but there's a reason for that. It will save you time in the long run, because then when you go to edit, everything's right there. And isn't that what it's all about? I'm going to just pop over to me for a second. Yes, what you want to do is be totally organized, because when you're organized, life is so much better. It just really is. So do it. Hi, Kelly. Hey, Kelly. Now, what is your next step? Bring it into your editing program. This is the program that you were very careful about, right? You didn't just choose based on price, right? You chose wisely, because remember, if you don't, you might get something that's AB normal, and you don't want that, right? You definitely don't want AB normal. You want high quality images, audio, graphics, music, sound effects, everything you bring in, high quality, not AB normal.
AB normal.
So what's next? 5. What's 5? Well, these are the 5 things that you need to know about editing. I swear to God, that's it. 5 things. Number 1, your browser. Number 2, your viewer. Number 3, your media. Number 4, timeline and tracks. And number 5, what is your play bar? Now this, as a beginner, I swear to you, will get you everywhere you need to be as a beginner. So let's look at that. What does it mean? This is your browser. When you're in your editing program, the entire screen, just like when you're online, is your browser. It's where you're going to find every single thing that you are doing to edit your video. Your browser. What's next? Your viewer. Your viewer is extremely important. Why? Because it's where you see everything. So of course it's extremely important. This is where you view all your footage. This is where you're going to view what titles and transitions and everything else look like and sound like on your viewer. What's next? Media. Okay, media is extremely important because this is where you are going to keep all of your video, all of your graphics, the music you bring in, the sound effects you bring in, any illustrations you might bring in, anything that is considered media. And that's what the term media means. So when someone says to you, and they're talking about editing, well, did you bring in your media? Now you know what that means. Now it's not a mystery anymore. Now it's just, oh yeah, I know what media is, right? No big deal. What's the most important thing that you need to put your A-roll on? What is A-roll? A-roll is the main video footage. You put the main video footage on the timeline. That's what it's called. That long horizontal bar in your software program for editing is your timeline. And it's so important to know this because when someone says to you, well, did you put it on the timeline or above it or below it? Now you know what they're talking about. It is the horizon line. If you're the Earth, it is the horizon line, right? So that's what your timeline is. Everything above in the clouds in the sky, titles, additional video. What's below it? Sound effects, voiceover, That's below the timeline. Above the timeline, you have additional graphics, you have text, you have more video. Your B-roll goes above your timeline. So when you think of it like a horizon line, makes it super simple to realize what goes above and what goes below. Tracks. What the heck are tracks? Well, tracks are the additional content you put above or below your timeline. New tracks, so a track of audio, a track of music. Above will be additional video, text and titles. That's what tracks are. Now, what is a play bar? Some editing programs call it a scrubber. Weird word, right? But I didn't make it up. Just telling you. Play bar. So your play bar is where you go up and back across your video on your timeline to see what's happening in the scenes. And where your timeline is, and you place your play bar, that is where you are focused, where your play bar is. So you might be editing in your software program and your play bar, let me just jump out of here for 1 second. If you're editing and your play bar is way over here, okay, and you think it's right here, because that's where you're doing everything, but you can't see it in the viewer, it's because the play bar is where you see what's in the viewer, okay? It's the play bar. So you need to know where your play bar is. You also need to realize that if you haven't what's called selected your video footage and you think you're editing it, you're not. So you need to select whatever content you're editing, whatever media you're editing. You need to actually click on it and make sure it changes a color, like it might be yellow around the edges or some other color around the edges, so you know you're actually editing. That's how that works. Any questions on this? Recap and tips. This is what it is. Editing is a brand new creation, just like Frankenstein, from other parts.
That's Frankenstein.
What's that, honey?
That's Frankenstein.
Oh, Frankenstein. Is that Frederick Frankenstein?
Froderick.
Oh, Froderick.
Frankenstein. No, I got
or is it Froderick or is it Frederick?
Frankenstein.
All right, get off. So what are you creating? You are creating a brand new piece of video. And the way that you do that is you take all of the footage that you have, all of this film, you bring it into your editing program, and now, just like Dr. Frankenstein, you are creating a brand new magnificent creation that you're bringing out to the world that everyone is going to either love or hate. Who cares? As long as it's a strong reaction, right? As long as it's a strong reaction. And you do this with editing. That's how you do it. So you're creating something new from a bunch of pieces. What else? Software. Choose wisely, because if you don't like your software, you're not going to have fun. And if you don't have fun,
you'll choke.
You'll choke and die. If you don't have fun, you're not going to enjoy editing. And the whole point of editing is to have fun, to create something brand new that you absolutely love doing. Because truly, I swear to you, editing is so much fun. Once the fear of editing is gone, once you get into it, once you learn all the cool stuff that you can do, it is so much fun. So let's quick go back. Choose your software wisely. What else? Film, of course. Nothing happens unless you create video, right? So you need to film. You need to make a killer film. You need to do a script or bullet points, a storyboard. You need to ruthlessly cut the crap and get rid of it. You need to have great sound. You need to be aware of a beginning, a middle, and an end of your video, and you want to keep it tight, and you want to keep the pace going, and you want it to be exciting for your viewer, and you want them to stay with you from the beginning to all the way to the end. Why? Well, why are you making this, right? Why are you making this? If you don't want them to stay with you from the very beginning until the very end, okay, then it doesn't matter if your content is compelling. But if you care, and you should, then you want to make extremely compelling content so that they're there from the beginning all the way to the end. What else? Template. What is a template? Well, it's the way for you to make things happen so much faster. It is the hook. It is the quick intro, 3 to 5 seconds. It is the dynamic, amazing, compelling, fantastic, original story from start to finish. It's a call to action, and it's an end screen. That's your template. So set up your timeline with your template and stick to that. Because what happens is, as a beginner, you don't want to have to think about how do I do this, right? You just want to do it. So if you have a template, it just makes it so much easier to know, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this here, and get it done, right? Just get it done. Organize. That's the next step. That's going to make it so much faster. Take all your content, put it in folders. Organize yourself before
You have 2 questions.
you go to editing. And I have questions. Okay. Rita, confused by the column to the far left. It has some of my videos, but not all. On your sample, it has some dates and titles. Our works in process there are only finished projects. That is a great question, Rita. So, in your editing program, when you have content, and each editing program is different, so I'm going to speak in generalities because truly, they're all different, and yet they all have the same basic steps that you take. You bring in your content. Let me just pull Rita's question back in. You bring in your content, and then in your editing program, there are options for you to add titles. This has some dates and some titles. Our works in process, they are only finished product. When you are bringing in content to your editing program, some of your projects will be finished and some of them won't be. And it depends upon the storage you have in your computer, or if you're using your phone, on your phone, as to whether or not you keep a project in process. And a project is just the video that you're working on right now. It's called a project. So do you keep the content or do you toss the content? That's entirely up to you. And if you want to keep it and it's on your phone, just remember it's going to take up a lot of storage space. So be mindful of this. If you have SD cards, change your SD cards if you want to keep the footage. If you don't, and you have like an iPhone, then transfer the content to an external hard drive so you can keep it, and so you can empty your phone and have enough space on your phone. I hope that answered your question, Rita. Okay, Tom's question. How do you feel about talking head picture-in-picture? You mean like this? You're doing it right now, but this is live. What about videos we are making that are not live streaming? Great question, Tom. I think if you are explaining something, if you are teaching something, if you're talking about something, and really, is it all about you or is it all about the content? I think it's fine to be a talking head if you are explaining content. Now, with that having been said, you could also do split screen. So I'm just going to jump to Sal and me, and Sal could be what I'm talking about. So if I were talking about Sal, I would have Sal on the screen. And you could split the screen and you could show much more of you and what you're talking about at the same time. And that's perfectly fine as well. So if your viewers prefer to see more of you, do a split screen. If your viewers are okay with you doing, thanks honey, with you doing content, because your content, in my opinion, my content is more important than me. So I want you to see what I'm talking about more than I want you to see me. So this is why, for me, I think it's fine to use a small talking head and a much larger content. But again, whatever works for you works. And whatever your viewers really like works. So what are my tips? Well, there are 7 of them. Tip number 1. Put your A-roll on the timeline. That is what goes on the timeline. So if you think in terms of Frankenstein, that's the body, right? The body is the timeline. So the main body of your video is what goes on your timeline and is called A-roll. What's next? Tip number 2. Be ruthless. You must be ruthless. You must cut, because you want to end up with something that's short and sweet and to the point and doesn't have fluff and doesn't have boring stuff and doesn't have things that stop your viewer from watching from the beginning to the middle to the end. So be ruthless and cut. Tip number 3. Add B-roll. If you don't know what B-roll is, B-roll, you've seen it your whole life. Every time you watch the news and you hear a newscaster talking while you're watching what's playing in front of you, that's B-roll. Okay, so the newscaster is A-roll. That's the A-roll. Then whatever they're talking about comes up right in front of them and you don't see them anymore. You just hear them talking about what's happening in front of you on the screen. That's B-roll. The reason you add B-roll is to keep it interesting, because if it's just you the whole time, here we go, just me, okay? I mean, you might like listening to me and you might like looking at me for a while, but then what? Right? You don't want it to be forever. And Sal can attest to that. You need to have some B-roll to keep it interesting.
Gotta have the B-roll.
Gotta have the B-roll.
Gotta have the B-roll.
That's what it's for. Keep it interesting. Tip number 4. Add transitions. What are transitions? Do you know? Have you used them? If you haven't, a transition is when you go from one piece of video footage to the next, either with a swipe, a wipe, maybe it's a star, maybe a curtain opens, maybe a circle closes. These are all transitions. It could be lots of things. It could be all broken up and then all of a sudden you're there again. There are lots of ways to do transitions. And that's all a transition is. It's just going from one point to the next with something that makes it happen. So if you're doing a wipe, generally speaking, that's sort of like time has passed, right? But you could do a jump cut transition where it just literally goes from one piece of film to the next without any kind of soft or interesting transition. It just jump cuts right to the next one. And that's still a transition. So transitions are super important because they keep the video moving. They keep your audience interested, right? You don't want to just see me in the same exact place every single minute of the video, do you? It's not as interesting. So do your transitions, do your generators, keep it interesting. Tip number 5, add some music. Because music is how you take people in and out. It's how you make a point. It's how you draw people into the video. It's how you take people out of a video. There are so many ways to use music effectively and to create the mood you want to create with your video. keep it low so we can hear your voice. Because if your music's too high and we can't hear your voice, what's the point, right? What's the point of the music? The music is not to overpower you, the A-roll. The music is there to set a mood, to create a feeling, to make it a little bit more listenable. That's what your music is for. What else?
Kim has a question.
Kim has a question. Any tricks on how to get started in terms of storyboarding? Yes, great question, Kim, thank you. If you want to get started storyboarding, here's the first thing you need to do. Stop being afraid to draw, okay? Anybody can draw. I swear to you, anyone can draw. There's been a lot of swearing in this video. Anyone can draw, and what you want to do, and I will just pop back over here, is you just want to make little boxes, as many little boxes as you are going to have scenes in your video. And then you don't even have to do all the scenes. You could do like the major scenes. Just make little boxes, and if you don't want to draw, do some little stick figures, okay? If you know it's going to be a close-up, draw a big head with big eyes and a face, right? If you know it's going to be a full landscape, just draw a horizon line and maybe a couple of trees or a house or something. Do it super simply. It's for you. This is for you. Who's going to look at it? You are. So the most important thing is that it works for you, because who cares who else it works for, right? It only matters that you can use it and progress quickly. So that's number one, is to create your squares, enter your content, and then make your notes. So if this is a close-up, you might want to say close-up of, you doing blah, 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 talking about X, Y, and Z, and then your next box is what you're going to cut to. So then you make notes about the next one. And this is where you can say the titles you want to put, the transitions you want to put in. This is where you can do all of your pre-editing. It's really awesome. So don't think that this is hard to do. It's super, super simple. You can think of it like crayons and a drawing book, right? Just do it super simply, whatever you like to use. It doesn't even matter. If you like magic markers, if you like pencil, if you like pen, if you want to use a tablet, do whatever you like to do, okay? You can even do this in Canva. You can print the whole, set up the whole thing in Canva with their frames and add all the stuff in and make all of your comments and print it out for yourself. So don't make this a thing. Make it super simple, because that's really what it is. Storyboarding is so easy. There's not much to it, okay? And you don't need to think that it's something really hard. It's not. Tip number 6, sound effects. So what would Frankenstein be without him going, right? That scary, scary sound. So think about the sound effects. What about a creaky door? Right? You want all that kind of stuff, because this is what adds to your video. This is what, thanks, Sal. I'm just going to pop over to Sal now. You never know what you're going to use to make sounds with, right? So it could be anything. Thank you, honey.
They use that on the Addams Family.
That's right.
That sound effect.
That's right. There's so many, and that's the other thing, is that your editing software probably comes with sound effects. So use them. They're fun. It's just a great way to make your video a little more exciting, a little more interesting, a little more dynamic. And it's fun. So you want to have a good time editing. So do all these things to make it fun for you, because that's really what it's all about, right? You want to have a good time so that you'll do it. What's tip number 7? Add text. So yes, you've already done all of this stuff for your video and you think it's almost finished, but did you add any text? Well, you may not think that your video needs any text, and if it doesn't, fine. It's entirely up to you. But if you're doing any kind of professional business video, and we're all about business YouTubers here, so if you're doing a professional video, one of the things that you want to do is what's called a lower third. And I'm going to pop back over to Sal and I'm going to show you, look at this. This is a lower third. See where our names are below us? Lower third. Lower third of the frame of the picture. That's lower third text. So this is how you can say who you are or the name of your business or what your title is, or if it's a picture, if it's B-roll or some kind of video or graphic that you're showing your product or your services, then your text can be what that's about. So don't forget the text. Look at how much fun it is to do things with text. Are you afraid? The text up above, are you afraid? These are the kinds of things that make it more fun. So add your titles and your lower thirds. Next time, how to schedule and post YouTube videos. And you might think, duh, no brainer. I know how to schedule and post my videos, but have you done everything? Are you covering everything? I don't know if you are. And that's what I will be doing in the next video. So please join us, because all month long we will be doing Halloween themed fun content for you. And the reason for that is, well, it's October, right? And today is the 13th. So we figured, why not start today, October 13th, and have fun with what we're doing. So what is the last thing? How to schedule and post YouTube videos. You don't want to miss that. And finally, believe in yourself. You can do this. I know you can do this. Just be you, have fun, and do it. Editing is fun. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will be so happy to answer them for you. We are Zazumi. We are for business YouTubers to boost your income, influence, and impact with YouTube. And now, all of us are going to join you and say a happy Halloween goodbye. So thank you guys for joining us. We love that you're here. Thank you guys. Have a very, very, very fantastic, creepy rest of your evening. And we'll see you in the next video.
Haha.
Ciao. Good night, guys.